Hello, everyone. We're back. It's the Jarek Brian Show. My name is Jarek. On today's show, guys, we've got Hugo Alonso from the Stay Winning podcast. I'm a huge fan of it. But Hugo, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Jarek? Wonderful. How are you?
Oh man, I'm good, man, and glad to have you on the show. And before we get into your podcast and everything, all the great things that you're doing, let's get a little bit of information, like about you. Like, how'd you get all the way here to Web3 and financial literacy?
How did I get to Web3? Man, I think it was Dogecoin, honestly.
Yeah,
All the Dogecoin buzz, I got in early with Dogecoin. Turned about 300 something dollars to about 11,000. Could have
yeah,
been 17,000 depending, if I would have pulled out earlier. Um, Speaking of Dogecoin, I met Pro the Doge in person, so shout out to Pro.
good guy.
Um, but from there, I started doing more research of, okay, what is this? There has to be more than just a meme to it, right? And then obviously you see all these articles about people making money overnight, and there's never been anything like that. Usually building wealth, is not an overnight process. So that got my interest. I think we all start with Ethereum NFTs just because the technology was already there as far as smart contracts go. And then once I learned a little bit more about blockchain technology and what it does, everything pointed to Cardano. I like how
Hmm.
Cardano is fast. I like how it's decentralized, which to me is a big green flag when it comes to crypto. And then eventually the smart contracts came, and I started getting into NFTs with Cardano because they were fun, and because we would and then you would have to wait for someone to send it to you
Yeah.
manually because there was no smart contract. So that's been a while now. But I would say Dogecoin got my start into Web3 and then crypto, and then from there, just started doing my own research with blockchain technology.
Yeah, no, like that time in Cardano, man. Like, I wish I'd have been there, like right at the beginning, when all that was kind of like going on too, as well. I mean, man, to be at the beginning of like the Ape Society, Chill Kongs and everything like that. Big fan, actually, big fan of Cardano, and actually that's where I got my start in NFTs is Cardano. Like I said, shout out to Mutant Toads. I don't know if they're still around. Mutant Toads and I believe Isometric World and I want to say JPEG Junkies. Am I mistaken though? But yeah,
Yeah,
got
JP
Rugged, but
Junkies.
I loved everything like on Cardano, right, and all the NFTs that they had. But speaking of that, right, and speaking of like NFTs on Cardano and everything like that, the Chill Kongs, right. Um, Kind of all the things kind of like happening like with Chill Kongs. Like, what's kind of your take on kind of like all the things that have like transpired so far? And do you think that Chill Kongs can make a comeback?
Um, Funny thing about Chilcon is actually, I don't know if funny is the right word, but a lot of what you see on Cardano
Mhm.
is originated from the OG Chilcons,
Yeah.
right? So there's other NFT projects that launch, like balloons, from
Hmm.
people that met at the Chilcong's Discord. And obviously now we have meme coins that are launching from Chilcong traits. Snake being the bigger one, Viper coin being one of the newer ones.
Hmm.
Um, so I like the new ownership of Chilcongs. Um, and it's nice that they communicate a lot with the community. As far as it making a comeback, I really think so. I think it can definitely make a comeback, especially because they allow they give you IP rights. So I'm allowed to make some merch with it, start a business around it, um, and I think the team is very hands on. So I do think it can make a comeback. But when you just look at the Cardano ecosystem, a lot of things derive from chill cons.
Yeah.
So Snake wouldn't be here today without it. Snake Energy wouldn't be here. Vipercoin, Balloons wouldn't be here, and so many other projects.
Hey, yeah, no, that is correct, 100%. Especially Snack, right? And and everyone kind of knows that you have a podcast, right? Very successful podcast, right? And you talk about
Thank
like
you.
financial like literacy and everything like that. Though, when you tell people, about like like mortgages and everything like that, but then also you have this other sector that you're also into as well, like meme coins, like Snack and everything like that. Like, how do you get people to kind of I guess, yeah, how do you explain it to people to get them to invest and actually open up to like crypto and NFTs?
Yeah, thank you for that compliment. We just moved into number 26 this week. So, top 26 financial literacy podcasts in the world. And that's not even adding video to it. So, exciting where that's going to lead in 2024. Now, where they're adding video. We just launched on iHeartRadio, which we were not on there. So, we could achieve all those numbers without being in that format or those platforms. I'm excited to what 2024 has, especially opening up to guests. So, the door's open for you, my friend. And I'd love to have you on there. But as far as getting people to invest in crypto, financial literacy, I explain how money works, right? And a lot of times people get upset about how money works and how the rich get richer.
Yeah.
So a lot of things with fiat, there's always a middleman. There's always someone that wants their cut. So when I'm talking to people, coaching people, or just explaining financial literacy, I do like to incorporate Web3 into it because it's inevitable. Now with the Bitcoin ETFs, like there's, it's even a bigger argument that it's inevitable, right? And I explain like, okay, well at the bank, you can get this amount of return, but you have to lock your money. With blockchain technology, you don't have to lock your funds. So Cardano, I think that stood out to me as another green flag is you don't have to lock up your money or your Cardano to gain 4, 5, 6% APY in return. So when people hear that, they do like that because they want to have control over their funds every day, right? It's their money, they deserve the keys. And a lot of these traditional institutions don't allow for things like that. Same thing with the brokerage account. If you're busy at work and you don't have internet access or you can't be on your phone, you might miss out on making a trade and losing money. But with crypto, it's 24/7. So even if it's late at night and you can't sleep, yeah, you can go ahead and buy that token that you want or invest in it and watch your money work for you literally 24 hours a day. So when I incorporate that knowledge to them, let them know, hey, this actually gives you more control and more power over your finances. Sure, we're still very early, right? We're so early still that it's not mainstream yet, but we're getting there. So if people can be early, I usually compare this time or Web3, I compare it to the early 90s. So this, I probably heard me say this on X, right? Like how Gen X had it really nice. So they were in their prime adult years in the 90s. That means they could have bought Apple, Amazon, Starbucks, all for under $1. And you know how expensive California is. They could have also bought a home in California in the 90s for like $150,000. So those opportunities that millennials say they missed, those memes that go, oh, what would you do in 2013? You're like, oh, I wouldn't be in third grade anymore. I'm sure you've seen that meme, right? So
Yeah.
I try to explain that that's how early we are in Web3, that if you play your cards right now and invest in the right ones, 10 years from now, you're going to be so thankful that you did. And the only way to find out which are going to stick around are, just like the Web 2.0 bubble, right? 20 years had to go by to see which ones stood by and which ones didn't. And, Amazon was one of the ones that made it. Microsoft was one of the ones that made it. So it'll be similar like that in the crypto world. And that's where I bring into the conversation ISO 20022 compliant tokens. Because I do think those are more mainstream adaptable and probably gives people a little more confidence into investing in those when they can easily bridge it to fiat. For example, XRP being the biggest one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on the ISO coins too, as well. And also, like I said, I want to bring up your podcast too. And what was like, you definitely wanted to talk about like financial literacy on it though, right? But like, what made you just decide, like, hey, I want to start this podcast, right? And also, what tips would you give someone that's actually maybe thinking about starting a podcast that just maybe this, I don't know, that doesn't have like, maybe like I don't know if I'm going to make it or anything like that. Like, what tips would you give someone like that?
Yeah, so let's go with the first part as far as why I started a podcast. I've always received compliments on the way I sound.
You do.
Most of my banking career has been over the phone, right? So a lot of times people be like, they think of banks as a branch where you walk in, but there's so many other departments behind the scene that I was a part of simply because of how I sounded over the phone. So with those compliments, just played to my strengths, which is, okay, well, let me launch a podcast with this. And the inspiration behind that was my own personal experiences. So I have a degree in radio, television, and film. And when I chose that degree freshman year of college, I chose it because I saw the power of film. I saw how film can inspire people, can change the way people view something, can get people to think a certain way. So I thought if I can have that kind of influence through film to do something positive, then I'm all for it. So that's what my degree is in, but my background is in banking and finance. Um, so when you take a look at statistics as far as who's in the prison system, who's homeless, who has mental illnesses, who lives below the poverty line, the common denominator on that is single parent households. When you look at the divorce rate in the US or just in the Western world, one of the top reasons for divorce is money problems. So if I can go, so I like to focus on what I can control versus what I cannot control, right? So I can't control a politician for giving student loans. I can't
Yeah.
control the interest rates, right? But I can control how I prepare for those things. So instead of complaining about, oh, my student loans were forgiven, I like to show people, hey, you can actually decide where you go to school, how far from your parents you're going to go to school. Like, is that going to require an extra cost, an extra commute? So you don't graduate with X amount of student loans. Um, so for millennials, for example, the biggest factor that's preventing millennials from homeownership is simply student loan balances. It's the
Mhm.
generation with the greatest amount of student loans. So if your student loans are $700, that's literally $100,000 less that you can be eligible for when it comes to a mortgage. So that could either make or break it depending on where you're located, or could literally take you from 2 bedrooms to a studio. Like, that's how much of an impact that has. So my whole purpose with Stay Winning is to help people break those chains of poverty, break out of those cycles, and be the example that if I can do it, they can do it. I usually like to say I'm nothing special. I have the same 24 hours in a day. Life didn't give me the best cards, so if I can win the game of life with the worst cards dealt, then let me show everyone else how they can do it too, and turn their life around and be that person that changes their generations and their future generations for success.
Yeah, no, that's a great, man, and that's why, like, I see all the time, like, you post on, like, X and everything like that. Some great tips and everything, and yeah, like, I was kind of like the second part to that question is like, people are like, especially like me. The only thing I could say too about that is that I was super like kind of like nervous, right, and kind of like just like I don't know if I should, maybe I shouldn't. Like, what advice would you give someone that's maybe thinking about like jumping into the podcast world?
Yeah, so let's go with the second part, and it's a great question. I know you and me have discussed this off camera a little bit. So my advice is just start with what you do have.
Hmm.
Don't worry about trying to get the most expensive mic. Literally a $15 lavalier mic on your phone will go ahead and do, and you could just start recording on your phone. All phones have great cameras now if you're just sitting in front of it. So my advice would be to start if you're thinking about it. If you have been thinking about it, if you can't go more than a week without thinking about it, then go ahead and start. Don't be afraid to be seen from the bottom. I started from the bottom. Everyone starts from the bottom. So don't be afraid to be seen starting from the bottom. Feel free to reach out to me if you have additional questions, even Jarek, with this great show he has here. So that
Yeah.
would be an advice. Start with what you do have. Don't break the bank with the mic, with the camera. Just buy yourself a $15 lavalier mic. Use your phone to record. All the platforms that you can upload are free. AI allows you to edit um, your audio for free as well, and fast stream this. So you can literally hit record, hit edit, and upload all within 5 minutes. Don't be afraid to be seen from the bottom, and speak from the heart. People are going to appreciate your message. The podcast world is a great place to remain authentic. So don't be afraid to be yourself. Um, if there's a place for you to be yourself, it will be in the podcast world. So there's really no need to prepare additionally. And yes, your first episodes are going to be bad. They're going to sound horrible to you, but trust me, someone is listening. Now, the other piece of advice I would add to that is record 3 or 4 podcasts before you launch it and before you put it out there, as well as reserve your social media names so they all match across the board before
Yeah.
you launch that podcast. That way, for branding purposes, it's easier for people to find you, and you can prevent all the fake accounts and that go ahead and scam people and pretend to be you. So that's something else I would go ahead and add to it. And the biggest thing would be to remain consistent. Consistent is more rare than loyalty out there. So if you can remain consistent, I guarantee you're going to be in the top 10%.
Yeah, no, and 100% on that. That's one mistake I did make was actually like not having everything kind of like match up. and that's what kind of had to go back and kind of fix that. And definitely, your first episodes are going to be definite work in progress. And we're on the kind of the subject of financial literacy and everything like that. Like, what are some of your like principal like fundamentals, regardless of like expertise, beginner and everything like that? But what are some of your core fundamentals on finance?
Well, core fundamentals on finance. Let me see if this answers your question. I like to make my investments as if I'm going to have kids one day. Meaning,
Mm.
how I invest today, what kind of life will that give my children? I don't have any kids yet, but I know one day I may. So that's worked out really well for me. Um, so to simplify that, think more long term and think about the quality of life you can provide to your next generation. So I would say that's a value. I'm not sure if that's answering your question or what
Yeah.
you're looking for.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, like what are some of the core principles that you have when it goes to like investing, financial literacy, and things like that? And kind of like talking about like also staying on that subject, like as today, right? Like, what are some of the things that get people in a lot of debt that you see that it's a crucial mistake that a lot of the either younger generation or even like the people of today make?
Oh man, that one's a little fun, and I see this a lot.
Hmm.
The flex culture on social media
Yeah,
makes people go broke.
yeah,
And by that I mean, right, so we had the student loan example. Now the average car payment in America is over $1,000. So think
yep,
about it, if you had student loans and a car payment, even if you make $100,000, you can't afford a home anymore. So the biggest mistake I see people make is getting into debt for depreciating assets to care about the opinion of other people. I guarantee you, happiness can be found by you not caring what people think.
hmm,
That car is going to drop in value 30% probably after the first year. So stay away from getting a new car loan. Don't let that be your primary expense. And that will open doors down the line with your credit score. So don't shoot yourself in the foot just because you want to have a shiny new car. Honestly, half the time you meet girls, you're probably not even meeting them with your car around anyway. So,
yeah.
so it's not as important as you think.
Yeah, no, and you say all these wonderful things, right? You're saying all these financial tips and everything like that. But I do want to go back to the kind of Web3 world, right? Someone that's very calculated. You sound like very smart, right? And I see all the stuff that you have, right? Um, what is your opinion, or actually, like, how do you feel about meme coins, right? And do they have a place in Web3?
You know what? I do think meme coins have a place in Web3 because when it comes to getting buzz and eyes on Web3, meme coins get the buzz and the eyes, especially with the younger generation. And like I said, we're very early, so it's awesome to attract the younger generation to Web3. I do feel they have a space and a time here in the Web3 world. Some of the best communities that I'm a part of are related to meme coins. And by that, you can literally enter a chat and say, hey, I need some help. And within 30 seconds, you have a couple of responses. What's up? What can I do for you? You need to talk to someone? Hit me up. Like, it really is that cool. And I never found that type of people having a willingness to help
Hmm.
um, outside in the Web 2 world. It's actually the Web 3 world where I've experienced that. So thanks to meme coins, they provide that type of environment where it's very, very positive. I know there's the bad apples, just like anything else.
Oh yeah.
But I like to focus on the good, and like everything, do your own research. If you ever want to go ahead and invest in any type of meme coin.
Yeah, and like kind of what people say, right, is that basically like, meme coins, right, from the other side of the like debate is that meme coins kind of like hurt crypto kind of adoption, right? That like, oh man, you can
Mhm.
spark up a coin like hamster coin or whatever, like a supersonic Obama. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've seen that
Oh yeah,
meme
yeah.
coin. Like, what do you have to say that, when people say like, no man, like meme coins and everything like that like hurt um crypto being able to be like actually adopted and actually taken serious?
Well, that's the whole point of Web3 is to
Mhm.
put power back to the people. And unfortunately, there's people that have bad intentions, so they will launch a coin and
Mhm.
they would rug pull it. Um, I can relate that to the Web2 world when it comes to freedom of speech, right?
Yeah.
Someone might say something that you disagree with, but if you take away the option for them to speak, then that also puts you in a place for you not be able to say the opposite. So I'd rather disagree with someone saying something, and
Mhm.
both of us have the right to say what we want. And I can compare that from the Web 2 world to the Web 3 world. So yes, there's going to be bad players in the meme coin, and it might impact the way it gets adopted. But again, we're still very, very early. So as long as that power remains to the person, you can create your own token in the Web 3 world and use it for good. In Cardano, there's a project where a turtle token adopts turtles and saves them.
Oh,
So there's a great
that's cool.
aspect to it too. So if a bad apple made it where the government has to step in and regulate this, then all of a sudden, in this case, you couldn't save the turtles.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, and it's just like I said, I love meme coins. Like they're fun, right? And yeah, they just bring a lot of eyes, to crypto, right? And I want to ask you too, though, with NFTs, right? Like, 'cause like I said, you're in the like the financial world, right? The Web 2 world, right? Do you carry that same strategy when you kind of invest into NFTs as well?
Well, actually, the first thing that gets my attention with NFTs is just the art itself,
Hmm.
right? Especially if they have the traits that I like. Do they have a crown? Do they have shades? Do they have a cigar? Do they have a suit? Do they have a leather jacket? All those traits, if I see them, that's what gets me into it. Honestly, with NFTs, I go into it going, I'm willing to lose this money. And
Uh,
that's just the NFT specifically. Just talking about the actual JPEG. Um, but if I like the art, and I see that the project has potential, again, we're still very early. Some of these projects, even speaking of Cardano, right, they don't exist anymore simply because the funds ran out.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, I go into NFTs knowing, hey, I'm okay with just losing this amount, even if it's the Pudgy Penguin.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's just kind of with NFTs, it's it's a very different kind of like way I tackle it. Like I said, it's like I like the art, right? Even people say like it looks like it doesn't look like they're gonna have like much utility. I don't know. I like the art. Like I go into it, like you said, knowing that I could like like lose money too as well. And kind of like when you're kind of breaking down like an NFT project, like what are some of the other green flags that you have other than art?
Some of the green flags on the art, I would say
Yeah.
community is actually utility.
Hmm.
So if you take a look at my YouTube channel and my most popular videos, there's no specific NFT, but the tokenization of Snack,
Yeah.
um, I would say the community is utility. So thank you and shout out to the Snack community for helping me get across the finish line and getting my channel monetized. But other flags I look at is what that project believes in and what they want to go ahead and do. So on Cardano, we have something called a project called Platypus Cyberpunks. So yes, we have the NFT, we have the art of the platypus, right? But when you step away from the art a little bit, you can go like, okay, what is it that they're tokenizing? So what they're bringing to the Cardano ecosystem is the tokenization of real estate assets, right? So you don't have to go to Jeff Bezos' platform anymore. You can do it
Hmm.
independently without the middleman, thanks to blockchain technology and the you being able to tokenize that. So as far as other green flags go, it would be the community. I mean, aside from the art, right? The community, what their goals and objectives are, and if they have any connection or bridge to the Web 2 world. So if we take a look at Alley Cats, for example, they have a merch line. And I'm like, okay, even if the JPEG goes down, I still have the benefits of the merch line. I can get discounts or free shipping and things like that. The other green flags is if I see the founders active either on Discord, on Twitter, or on Spaces. That's a huge green flag.
Hmm.
So if we take a look at the Pudgy Penguin party in Miami, we had Luca Nets shaking hands at the door of that party, right? And that's a huge green flag, especially in Web 3, because so many people, you don't know who they are, right? Everyone has an alias, everyone has a monkey picture, you don't know who it is. But when you're able to put a face to the team, that's a huge green flag. So for anyone that's listening out there, you do your own research. If you want to throw that in there as far as a green flag is, hey, can you put a face to the name to the project? Then you're investing in something that they're investing in. Their time is invested in, their resources are invested in.
Yeah, no, like I said, totally agree on that. Especially like the founders being active, and him shaking hands too as well. I think that blew me away too. And kind of like talking about NFTs and the actual like tech itself, right? like where do you see like the NFT technology actually being something that's going to actually grow and be used kind of like in the future, or do you think it's something that's going to kind of die out?
No, I actually think the tokenization of assets is in the near future. We've already seen it in Miami with houses where they can tokenize the contract and the deed, and at the same time purchase that house in the metaverse. We've also seen it in Miami, and I say Miami because Miami is way ahead of the rest of the country
Oh yeah.
when it comes to adoption. You can go to the restaurant Komodo, show your NFT, and you have an exclusive access to a menu that the regular public doesn't have. But as far I do see this technology eventually benefiting things like voting, for example.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so the Cardano blockchain hasn't been hacked; it can't be turned off. Compared to like Solana or compared to like Ethereum wallets. For example, Cardano hasn't been hacked, hasn't been shut down. So when you have that technology and how you can implement it, uh, yeah, we're already seeing it digitally with ID cards here in California. So again, it's still very early, but I could definitely see us having ID cards on the blockchain, our voting rights on the blockchain, our college diplomas on the blockchain, or at least the digital equivalent of the physical world on that as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like this technology is going to grow and everything like that. And also, like we have crypto and NFTs, but is there any kind of other sectors in Web3 that you're very bullish on that maybe you don't talk about enough?
Yes, I do like that you can stake without having to lock up your tokens. I do
Mm,
like that you can have those funds liquid without having to lock on your tokens. I do like that it's 24/7. So if it's 5 a.m., 4 a.m., and I'm drunk and I want to buy a meme token or NFT, I can go ahead and do that. Um, but kindly repeat the question for me. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, like any other sectors that you're into, like in Web3, like any kind of like, is it like gaming, RWAs, GambleFi? Like, is there any other sectors that basically like you don't talk about, but you're like very bullish on?
I would say the biggest one is just the decentralization of it,
Hmm.
because it levels up the playing field. So for example, in the Web 2 world, there's investments that are only open to accredited investors. I
Yep.
mean, you have to have a certain amount of net worth, and there's requirements to become an accredited investor, right? And the everyday person, 90% of the people aren't going to have that. But with Web 3, I'm very big on how it levels, on how DeFi levels that playing field. So again, we're very early, but it has the technology, and we just have to have that mass adoption where we can open those doors to those types of investments with the tokenization of assets and with decentralized finance.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, totally agree on that. And what I also want to ask you too, you love Cardano, right? I get it. Right? I love Cardano. You love Cardano, right? But are there
Yeah,
any other blockchains that you may like, that you're actually like bullish on too, that you have like in your portfolio?
yeah, I can go over my portfolio a little bit. I do like XRP, even though
Hmm.
they don't say it's a blockchain, but that's because they're replacing the Swift codes when it comes to traditional finance wires. So I do see a bright future for that. The latest one that I've gotten into is Caspa. Their
Oh,
whole objective is to be, uh, just like Bitcoin is gold, Caspa wants to be the silver, right? And it's still
yep,
very early as well. So I do think that one stands out. So I saw Cardano, we have XRP, we have Caspa. I do like how VeChain,
yep.
we've seen the retail thefts go up recently,
Hmm.
like a lot, right? Like just spike, I don't know, in some cities like over 200%. But VeChain provides that technology where you can verify if that Louis Vuitton bag is real or
Yeah,
other retail merchandise. So that also gets me very excited, what that blockchain is dedicated to. And let's see. Yeah, and then Bitcoin will be also another top five
hmm,
because it's digital gold, and
yeah,
there's a limited amount, and it's decentralized. No one can turn it off. No one can take it away.
yeah. And yeah, like I said, yeah, like XRP, like definitely right. Caspa too is another one I've been looking at. Of course, I like Matic too as well, like that ecosystem, and also VeChain has NFTs too as well. I don't know if you've looked into that as well. War Dogs, Yuki-Oi, Warriors, yeah, a bunch of other projects too. They're doing a lot of good stuff on with VeChain and UFC and all that great stuff. And kind of in this bear market, right, that we've kind of been in, right? And this is, I'm guessing this is your first one. You said you got in a Dogecoin. I got the same thing. I got in a Dogecoin too as well. Like, how has it been trying to create content in this bear market?
You know what has been very tough?
Yeah.
So you probably have experience with how steep the watch hour is trying to get to that monetization objective. But if you can get, if you've been doing this in the bear market, I mean, I'm just looking forward to the bull market and how many more eyes are going to come to the content that we're pushing out.
Yeah, no, like definitely. And like speaking of this bear market, like what has this bear market taught you actually in crypto? Like what are some of the lessons you kind of taken away from it?
Be more patient.
Mhm.
I think those days of early crypto, or 3-4 years ago, we were seeing these overnight millionaires, or someone turned 5 grand into a million.
Mhm.
Those days are over. That's what that this bear market has shown me. But it's allowed for me to do more research into the actual technology outside of just cool JPEGs and NFTs. So I do appreciate that aspect of it, because now we're trying to find value in the technology versus just following a trend. So it's opened up my investment portfolio to more long-term investments versus short-term overnight success, and trying to seek that short-term overnight success and not finding it.
Yeah, no, and it's just like I said, it's this bear market has been like tough, especially like I said, creating content. And like I said, I have learned like patience, right? Because like I just wanted to be like any one of those guys that like put $27 in the Pepe, and like what I mean, it's like $1 million, and I was like, why can't that be me? But
Yeah.
speaking of all that, right? You see somebody that like hears those stories, right? And they're gonna come to your channel, right? And or people on the outside, right? Like friends, family, or whatever. Like, how would you walk somebody through Web3, right? And actually, like crypto and NFTs. Like, is there like a certain like way you would kind of like get them to start, or anybody kind of watching this? Like, where would you tell someone to start actually at?
Well, I do offer coaching sessions when it comes to crypto,
Oh, there you
and I
go.
first just find out what their goals are.
Mhm.
Um, so if their goals are, oh, I just want to make money fast, then I go, okay, well, these are the upcoming meme coins. These
Mhm.
are the pre-sales that are going to happen, because the way to be successful now is to get in early.
Yep.
And if 2 days have gone by, you're probably too late already.
Yes.
So I do make content where, hey, these are my altcoins or meme coins to look out for in February 2024, for example, right? That's one that I'm working on. So if someone approaches me and says, hey, I just want to get rich quick, or trying to like make some quick money, then that would be the way that I would direct them to. And obviously say, hey, do your own research. But it would be, hey, these are the pre-sales that are happening. Um, Take a look to see if it's trending on X, the amount of followers, make sure they're not bots, like as far as the
Yeah.
reply ratio, the comment ratio, and then have your wallet set up and your funds ready to go when that pre-sale takes off. And then when you feel you made 2x, at least pull out your original investment, at least, or at least what you're trying to get, right? So if I want to put in $100 and I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to go to Disneyland, I know I need to turn that $100 to $300,
Yeah.
right? So that would be my pull-out point, or that would be what I would suggest as someone's pull-out point. Now, if someone goes, hey, I want to do a more long-term investing, not necessarily retirement, but just long-term, like 10 years down the line, that's when I explain the blockchain technology and what they're doing. I go, okay, this is XRP, this is what it does. It's still a great price point to get in because it's under $1, right? And then the other thing I ask is, how much do you have to invest? So if they have a couple $1,000s, okay, well, we can go with Ethereum, we can go with Bitcoin. If you have a few $100s, you can get more bang for your buck, because it's still early with XRP, VeChain, Cardano, Caspo. And I explain that type of technology and see what they want to take a look for. So they might be into fashion and be like, oh, well, I believe in VeChain more than Cardano. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
cool. Then, go ahead. So it's just finding what their goals are. But pretty much the two conversations would be, is it short term or is it long term?
Yeah, no, that's like that's great too, and of course like that was me, trying to get in and trying to get rich quick though, but then of course learned like, hey man, there's levels to this, right? And being early actually does like pay off like big time, and kind of what I want to talk to you about too. Like in your kind of like portfolio, like do you have like a see if you can kind of rank them? Like what are your kind of like top five kind of like holdings, right? There's like top five, projects that you believe in.
So we're speaking about just the Cardano ecosystem, the projects I do believe in.
Mhm.
As funny as it sounds, I believe in Snake, but I personally knew the team before the token launched.
Did
I've
you get in
met the
early?
Yeah, I did,
Oh,
and I took
good
some
one.
profits then, and then now I'm just holding for the longer term. Um, I met the team in person. Um, I like that they launched a drink. I think it's a great way to bridge Web 2 and Web 3. I believe in Dex Hunter. Dex Hunter is bringing a lot of the traditional finance tools to the Web 3 space, as far as like being able to sweep, being able to do options, being able to set your prices of when to buy, when to sell. So I think that's definitely a long-term play to stay in it as well. Let's see what else. Yeah, I can pull out my bag right here.
Yeah, yeah, man. Pull up your bag. Everyone wants to know what is Hugo's like top five like holdings, man.
Yeah, so this is a video I was working on. Oh yeah, Project Noom. So as I mentioned before, right, my degree is in radio, TV, film. So when I was working and making films, I decided to do a little bit of talent management. And in that process, um, ideally, I would come across like a triple threat. Not only can they act, but they can sing, they can dance, right? So Project Noom, just to simplify it, is like the Spotify, but on the blockchain. And
Hmm.
again, speaking of the technology, you can have millions of streams on Spotify and still get paid only hundreds of dollars because everyone's taking their cut. There's different contracts there. But Project Noom makes it so the actual artist can go ahead and benefit. So as my from my talent management background, I'm like, wait, this is actually a very useful tool that I could have used when I was doing that, where I could have directed people, hey, let's upload your music here. Let's have your fan base support you directly without having someone else take their cut on their platform. So Project Noom is another one that I believe in a lot. And then IAG. Why IAG?
Yeah.
Because as the world goes more digital, it's also inevitable that you're going to need cloud space storage. And the fact that you can have it on a blockchain that doesn't get hacked is, I mean,
Yeah.
that's gold right there. That's platinum. So I would say, how many is that? That's four that I
Yep.
mentioned?
That's four.
Yeah, so Noom, IAG, Snick, and Hunt. And then another one that I believe in as far as projects go. Oh, yeah. Um, I don't hold this, but there is like a chat GTP in Cardano.
Okay. Do you
Um,
know what it's called?
yeah, let me see. Cardano GPT? Yes, Cardano GPT.
All right, man. Yeah, yeah. All those. I have to definitely look into some of those too, as well, especially the streaming one. And kind of like talking about like your podcast and everything like that. Like, where can people like find your podcast? Not only just YouTube, but also you also stream to other places too, as well. Correct?
Correct. I recently launched a website, which is staywinningpodcast.com. And then that throws all the links where I'm available at. But majority of the times you can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcast. And yeah, as you mentioned, I am on YouTube as well, and I would love to have you on there when we get a
Oh,
chance.
definitely, man. Definitely, I would be honored. Definitely be honored. Um, you know, you can find you on places like the podcast is great and everything like that, though. But kind of like in this next kind of like bull run that we're getting ready to have, right? The happening is getting ready to happen and
hmm
everything like that. Like, how crazy do you think this next bull run is going to be? Like, what are some of your predictions? Like, give me some of your kind of like predictions that you're going to have for this next bull run.
You know what? I'm looking forward to the bull run. So it is an election year, so things are
Hmm.
going to get crazier. If you look at history, the crazier things get, the more that gold and silver spike. So
Yeah.
now that we have this Bitcoin ETF on the market, the same year that there's going to be a Bitcoin halving, I mean, the opportunities as far as a bull market goes would be is looking very positive to me. So if you take a look at the gold ETF that was released in 2004 and the 300% increase it had over the next decade, just imagine what Bitcoin can do when there is a limit to what Bitcoin, as far as how many tokens are out there, and when the Bitcoin halving is taking place. So we've seen it with gold, and now we have it with digital gold, and that's what I mean that we're still very early, and I'm very, very excited for that bull run. And where Bitcoin goes, everything else follows. So I'm very excited for it. So if things get a little crazy, the way gold and silver has reacted in the past, I see those reactions happening with the crypto market, uh, because it is an election year.
Yeah, and do you feel like you've done enough to be ready for this bull run? Because I feel like I haven't.
No, I have
I feel like I
not.
haven't, man.
I have not. I have
No, yeah,
not. I'm
100%.
always wishing, I wish I had more. I wish I had a
Yeah,
bigger bag, you know? Um, but that's okay. Just everyone listening, dollar cost average into what you can. Um, I still think we're very early, so you have some time.
yeah, 100%. And actually, so I want to give you your two price predictions, right? I want to get your price prediction for Bitcoin and Cardano at peak bull run. Where do you think that's going to be?
At peak bull run,
Yeah.
give me the time frame. Like the next three
Uh,
years peak?
I'm talking about this bull run right here. This little like bull run that we're gonna have right after the halving, right? Like, where do you think Bitcoin will like reach right before it like stops out, and then of course we'll retrace and we'll start the other 4 year cycle again. Yeah, where do you think Bitcoin will be at this bull run?
I do see Bitcoin entering the 60s again,
Mm-hmm.
so 60,000 plus, and I do see Cardano going over $1 again.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, definitely. I'm gonna kind of be. I kind of want to say that at peak bull run, this little bull run that we're gonna have here. I want to say that Bitcoin will probably like touch like 110K and Cardano by about peak bull run like 5, and then of course just like the cycle starts over again, we'll have the 4 year cycle again, and everything will retrace. So that's where I kind of see where that's gonna kind of go. Um, you know, you have this great podcast, right? You're very like like smart in kind of financial literacy and like in Web3 though. But like, what are some of the goals you have for your podcast a year from now? Where would you like to be?
I like to enter the top 20. So we're currently number 26.
Mm-hmm.
The goal this year is to enter the top 20. Uh, Add some video to it, bring some guests on. I mean, I have a website now. I just launched it today, actually, where you can actually just go listen to the episodes directly on my website. So that's the goal for the podcast itself. Did you want to talk money wise about the podcast? Or?
No, well, it could be whatever, man. Whatever goals you have, money, personal, whatever you like. Like, what is the all your like goals that you have? What would you like to be a year from now?
A year from now. All right, cool. Yeah. Let's put this out there. That way, there's a timestamp where I
Yeah,
spoke this into existence, and then see where I landed. Right.
yeah.
So it's January 2024. By January 2025, I want my podcast to go in the top 20. Um, by the time I hear this again next year, I want to say I flipped 2 additional real estate properties in LA County, and I want to get a second long-term rental outside of state. I also want to make a comma on YouTube AdSense revenue alone. And by a comma, I mean 4 digits, so $1,000 monthly on YouTube AdSense revenue alone. So that's not even selling merch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm going to sell courses. I don't want to, in the spirit of decentralization, charge my peers. I want to just have the big guys in the AdSense revenue alone generate that for me. So those are some goals out there, and then probably go down to 185 pounds again.
Yeah, same.
A year from now, and then travel outside of the country.
Definitely.
I think those are some. Yeah, those are a little bit personal, a little bit about the podcast
Yeah,
as
and
far as
also
goals go.
too, I also want to kind of like get your kind of like inspirations too as well. Like, who are some of the people you looked up to in the financial world?
I would say my boss currently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my boss grew up in poverty just like I did, and
Mm-hmm.
now he has a $75 million private jet.
Oh,
all in one lifespan, right? We usually don't see that type of growth in money unless you're taking a company public. So this is the second time I work for him. First time around, I was like 16, 17, so I couldn't work full time, and it was like before the 2008 crash. So I never really got a chance to grow with the company at that point. But this time around in a new company, I'm very excited for. So yeah, that's someone I look up to, and it's great that I know someone like that personally.
Yeah, no, that's great. And 75, man, geez, man. And then, that jet and everything like that. Like, yeah, no, 100%. Right. And I tell you too, as well, like I do definitely want to talk about real estate, right? Like real quick. I know you got to go and everything like that, but you're very big on real estate. I see a lot of like real estate stuff that you post and everything like that. Like, is that something that you're like heavily into, or is that something that you're like super bullish on, is flipping properties and such?
Yeah, so my two real estate investment strategies right now, and I talk about the multiple ones that are out there on my podcast and YouTube channel, but the two I'm focusing on right now is long-term rentals and fix and flip. And I think I'm in the best market when it comes to long-term rentals. I don't know if you just saw, but I just posted how across all the rent increases in the nation, Orange County was the highest one, and that's where my long-term rental is at. So I am very bullish on real estate. If you take a look at the history of real estate, the last 6 recessions, it only crashed once. So that's how, compared to crypto, which is very volatile, real estate is a pretty safe asset.
100%.
So I do want to continue with real estate investing. Currently working on a flip right now in LA County, and I want to make it 2 flips for the year of 2024. So that one should go on the market around March. Looking at around a 33% return, which is great. I mean, you really can't get that anywhere else unless it's a meme coin overnight.
Yeah.
But yeah, my goal is to eventually get to 30 doors. That way I can get paid every day. So I could be like, you're what's doing the first, you're what's doing the second, you're what's doing the third, you're what's doing the, and so on. And just wake up to a deposit every single day. That's the goal. So I'm currently doing that, and I'm not even charging market value. So if I could also, provide housing for someone, that if I can soften the burden of their living costs, and prevent them from living paycheck to paycheck, I'm all for that. So yeah, I'm charging on the market right now, and I'm still cash flowing positive.
Yeah, and guys, this guy has a wealth of knowledge. Real estate, Web3, like crypto, all this great stuff, man. Definitely check out the podcast. And Hugo, like, I appreciate your time coming on. I want to thank you for coming on. But before you go, is there anybody you want to shout out, or anything you want to say, or anything like that before you leave?
Yeah, I want to just thank everyone for stopping by to this channel. Thank you everyone for supporting me. I'm looking forward to using blockchain technology to share in these opportunities that I'm a part of in the Web2 world. So just a little hint of what's to come. I haven't mentioned it to anybody, but I'm using the Jarek Brian Show to say that I will be using blockchain technology to bring my resources to the Web3 world and all my supporters. So I want to shout out, the whole Web3 world and everyone that believes in me, everyone that checks me out. Thank you. But if I want to walk away with something here, is subscribe to the Jarek Brian Show. It's very entertaining, putting out a lot of good information in the interviews he's holding. So support his channel. That's what I want to walk away with today.
Yeah, and same, Stay Winning podcast. It's an amazing podcast. Also follow him on X2 as well. He's putting out great stuff, guys. Whether if you don't want to go into Web3, he's got you covered on the financial side. And then if you want to go fully Web3, he's got you covered there too. But guys, this wraps our show. If you like content like this, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow me on X, and definitely follow Hugo on X2 as well. And we'll see you around on the next one. Take care.